Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back again with my weekly recap, breakdown, and review of HBO Max's Generation. Today, we are discussing episodes 6 and 7. This is a full spoiler discussion, so if you haven't seen the latest episodes, go check them out and come back and join the conversation. But before we dive into it, as you can see on the screen now, it would mean a lot to me if you all can check me out on my other social media accounts, which you can find those links in the description below. If you are new to the channel, welcome to this community. Consider subscribing to the channel, and while you all are at it, make sure you hit that notification bell. That way you can get the alert from when I drop new content. It would mean a lot to me if you all can like and share this review. It helps out the channel a lot, but I also appreciate all the support. And in the comments below, let's discuss episode 6 and episode 7. Let me know which of the two did you prefer more. What do you think about the storylines, the characters, and what do you hope to see in next week's, I believe, the finale, if I'm not mistaken. So let's discuss it all in the comments below. So just my general thoughts on the 6th and 7th episode. They weren't my favorite, and we're going to get into it here in a bit when I break down the episodes, but it was something about the pacing, something about some of the acting, if I'm being honest. The dialogue wasn't all that crisp or witty, and it just felt a little bit over dramatic at points. So we're going to get into it here a bit. Again, there are moments I enjoy, which we'll get into, but 6 and 7 just wasn't my cup of tea. And when, we'll get into the reasons why, but let me know now in the comments which episode did you prefer, what were some of your pros and cons, and let's discuss it all in the comments. So episode 6 opens up with Greta picking up the crew as they have Delilah's baby in hand. They're trying to devise a plan on, do we bring parents into the equation or not, which we'll talk a little bit about later. But we see now we're kind of almost caught up to the present timeline in regards to we're not months away, we're only a week away from Delilah having her child, as we kind of get a little bit more into, and this was kind of the stuff I liked about this episode in regards to character development. We get a little bit more of the relationship between Greta and her mom, as we see that her mom will be coming home shortly, and then there's some tension there. There's some stuff that, Greta feels like her mom's probably too overbearing, over controlling. She's not as loose and happy and free going as her aunt. But we see that in this conversation, she's not going to like the idea that her daughter is interested in another girl. We'll kind of see how that relationship plays out if she does come into episode 8, but we can definitely see that there's some tension there between the two. We cut to Ariana and Nathan as they are officially a thing, I guess you can say, and Nathan's mom, Naomi and Nathan's mom, Megan, seems to be pretty happy with that, because we obviously know with her episode, she's not too on board with her son being bi, which again speaks to the storyline of the parents not being as open to the Gen Z in regards to their sexuality, and particularly in this show with Megan, with Greta's mom. So we see that she's somewhat happy with that as she's dropping off Naomi as well as Ariana and Nathan to their San Francisco trip. And within this scene, while Naomi's kind of talking to her mom in regards to her mom being a hypocrite, right? Even Naomi says, and this is a double standard in regards to just how some parents raise their sons versus their daughters, and there's a double standard in regards to Naomi's like, well, you're okay with him saying all those things to, they were flirting in the back seat, Nathan and Ariana. She's like, if that was me, you would have told me to stop. There's no way you would have felt that comfortable with me having those type of interactions with, I don't know what's going to happen with her and Jack, but if she was with a boy in the back seat and he was saying those things to her, she wouldn't be about it. So I love, again, how the show kind of tackles the hypocrisy of parenting, and obviously just the different conversations being had in the show. And that was something I definitely did enjoy. It didn't expand upon that, obviously, because we had to go to the bus and go on the trip, but I like how the show's kind of alluding to that double standard that's out there. Crew coming up with a plan to sneak out of the hotel when they land to San Francisco. They get to San Francisco. They name the bus Bussy. And then we see, Greta and Riley eyeballing each other. I don't know why Greta couldn't just sit next to Riley when Nathan told him to sit, or Riley sit next to her. But again, kind of forced manufactured drama in that moment there. We share these different moments on the bus, which I'm not gonna lie, episode 6 was a little bit kind of chaotic to me in regards to we're in a different location, we're moving away from, we're on the road now, and the show has had multiple locations, but the writing and the character development, and it just felt kind of off. And in this kind of, this scene here, we're seeing stuff going on with Naomi and Delilah becoming friends or friendlier. We see Greta and doing her thing, and her talking to Chester about what's going on with her, and all that stuff just kind of felt like, okay, can we just get to some more of the meatier stuff, which we eventually do. They go to a restaurant, and we get these random white people taking pictures of the kids. Again, it's kind of showing you, again, the further they go away from their home and the kind of their safe haven, the more reality kind of kicks in regards to, other people not being accepting of people being themselves and being gay and being bi. So it kind of shows a little bit of a moment again. This episode kind of rushed over those moments. Again, I talked about Megan and having her conversation with the double standard. We don't really get a resolution or a resolve or much of a deep conversation about those people taking the pictures of the kid. It just kind of glanced over that just to kind of get to some unnecessary moments. But as I digress, we get this kind of, and again, I don't know, I have the early screener of this show. There's a moment that Greta has with the farmer guy, and I'm not sure, they didn't translate what they were saying to each other, but I wish I would have gotten that. So if you all are watching this in advance or watching this 6 months down the road and you're watching this episode, did it translate what they were saying to each other? And if so, let me know in the comments. But going back to just, again, the pacing was a bit off and the script writing was a bit off. We get this awkward moment where the teacher gets her finger bit by an ostrich, and that just kind of felt random. We see this relationship that I want to talk to you all about in regards to how you feel about Chester and Sam, in regards to Sam being the adult in the situation. If you all have been on my channel before, we covered FX on Hulu, A Teacher, and how, the adult in the situation could have put a stop to things escalating. I feel similar to that with Sam. I feel like he can clearly see Sam or Chester has a thing for him, but yet he's not like putting it out there like, no, you need to stop. You're being very, he's not being... He is being inappropriate, some of the stuff that he says to him. But again, Sam, as the adult, doesn't seem to be as pressing. If I was in a situation, if a student was very obviously flirting and being very kind of inappropriate, you got to put a stop to that. So there is something to say about Sam kind of welcoming this kind of inappropriate relationship in my eyes. Again, Sam and Chester, if Chester was a little bit older, I have no problem with their relationship. I would love for Chester to have someone to lean on, to trust, and all that stuff. And same goes for Sam. But knowing the fact that I believe Chester's 17 years old and Sam's in his mid-30s, it's not right, and that's the conversation we talked about in A Teacher. So check out those reviews if you guys are into that type of teacher-student type of relationship there. But as I kind of wrap up, the episode ends with the bus having this, I assume, a flat tire, and we get the ending of Chester holding Sam's arm in regards to him protecting Chester. So again, there were some moments that I liked the conversations that were started, but I wish there was a resolution. I wish there was a resolve within those conversations. So on to episode 6, which opens up again. I can't wait till we get to the present timeline because I'm kind of getting tired of this. It's going to run into the finale, obviously, about Delilah and Jay and the kid. But we see that they're discussing about, they're going to give the child up to someone that can maybe take care of the baby a little bit more. But I kind of took that scene as Delilah might change her mind and might wants to keep the kid, and that might be something we see in the finale. We get the pairing of the hotels, which includes Greta and Riley sharing a room, which we'll talk about that scene. We get more of Chester and Sam and them kind of growing a little bit more in their relationship. And again, to me, it's just like, Sam, he clearly is into you, man. And again, there might be a little bit of Sam inside of him that's just like, as he said weeks ago, I wish I could have been you in high school. But again, you got to understand the situation. You're a teacher, that he's 17, you're in your 30s. It's just not right, regardless of how I feel about them being a good couple for each other. If Chester was, 18, 19, into his 20s, but again, that's not the case. So it makes it very kind of, the relationship isn't right. Let me know your thoughts on that in regards to the age situation and being a student and being a teacher. And then I know this is, and then the rest of this episode is kind of like episode 6, is kind of unnecessary stuff. Again, the kids are having fun. They're out on the road. This is, if I was a high school and on a road trip to San Francisco, I would probably be doing maybe not this scene, but I'll probably be wilding out like they were. But I speak of this scene, I almost threw up seeing, I believe the character's name was Cooper, when he was licking the toilet because they were doing the Truth or Dare challenge. That I literally almost threw up. That scene to me just really was like disgusting to me. But maybe Cooper redeems himself a little bit later in this episode. So we get Chester and the Nathan plot, which I don't know if that's going to still come back up later on. But we see this 3-way kiss between Nathan, Chester, and Ariana, which Chester and Nathan have a much more deeper, more meaning to the kiss besides Ariana being in the mix. So again, I don't know if the show's going to go back to that of Nathan being attracted to Chester, because obviously Chester is more worried about falling in love with Sam. But we'll see what comes in the finale. We get the somewhat origins of a sorts of Delilah and Jay, how they first hooked up, and seeing Delilah befriending Ariana and Naomi a little bit more in regards to, it makes sense why Delilah called them to the bathroom in the first episode, because she feels like, they're sisters, they're best friends of sorts. On a little bit further into the episode, we get the Cooper somewhat redeeming himself as he reveals why he joined this group in regards to his relationship with his sibling and how he wants to learn more about the LGBTQ community, which I thought was a nice moment. It doesn't take away what he did in that toilet scene, but it makes the character a little bit more interesting nonetheless. We see Ariana confronts Nathan, which was confusing to me because she's confronting her. Again, Naomi being the villainous sister of a sort. She says, Ariana, you got to see this kiss that I recorded. Nathan's really into Chester, which I always thought Naomi, or I should say Ariana, she knew that he was into Nathan, right? Or I should say Chester, that Nathan was into Chester. I thought that was pretty apparent. And when he jumped off of the boat and just being the best friend of Naomi, that she had to know that, right? So I don't know, again, manufactured conflict that was already in the show. So that felt a little weird to me, because she I guess breaks up with Nathan when she goes to his room and all that. That to me felt unnecessary, because I thought she was very aware that yes, he's into Chester. Yes, he's bisexual. What did you expect, Ariana? It was very confusing to me. But speaking of confusing, we cut to Riley and Greta kissing for the first time. I assume it's their first time kissing. And the scene played so awkwardly. Again, their teenager is supposed to be an awkward moment. It was supposed to be their first time, embracing each other. Riley and Greta have never hooked up with anyone before, so I get it's supposed to be awkward. But her acting in that scene was a little bit off-putting for me, when she's just like, no, this isn't right. I don't want to just be a hookup for you, which makes sense to the scene, but the execution wasn't necessarily there for me. As we see Riley goes into that one girl's room who's really into her, and they hook up, and the bell rings, and we get the other perspectives. But that scene to me should have felt a little bit more natural, and it felt very manufactured. Again, there's a lot of manufactured drama that just didn't feel natural and executed properly to me. Cut to Chester and what happens to his night as he reveals himself to Sam that he's the one that he's been talking to on the app. And again, if you all have seen my reviews of A Teacher, it feels like A Teacher all over again. Sam should have just nipped in the bud and say, go to bed. This is the end of this conversation. Instead, Chester's following him around to his room and, tell me you're into me. If I was on an island by myself, it would be you. To me, again, the drama in these last two episodes just felt so unnatural to the characters, and it just felt, again, we know Chester's alone. He wants to embrace someone. He wants to have someone that he can really be himself with, but there's evidence in the character there, but it just felt like we need this to happen now, so let's just kind of make it happen. And it just didn't feel again natural to me in regards to just the writing and the acting, if I'm being honest, just wasn't all there for me, as we kind of see, again, them saying their unwarranted feelings, and Sam says, no, it wouldn't be you. I wouldn't want to be with you on an island, because, and he should say that, because it isn't right. There, as an adult and a teenager, and the adult should have made the stops this pretty early on, as we see that the pulling of the fire alarm was due to Chester, as he's screaming out for everyone to hear him. And again, I understand the parallels between Chester and Greta and Sam and Riley in regards to, their relationships and who they want to be with and they can't be with. Greta dealing with her mom. Obviously, Sam was an adult and Chester's a kid and all that stuff, but it just, the execution to me of that whole relationship, should we not, it's just not being executed properly for me. So those are just my thoughts. Again, there are some things to take away from episode 6. Same goes with 7, but cohesively speaking, these two episodes were my least favorite. Again, from the pacing, the writing, the unnatural kind of characteristics, and the things that kind of played out just didn't execute. They weren't executed properly in my personal opinion. But we have one episode left, if I'm not mistaken. This first season will consist of 8 episodes, and then they're going to have like a part 2 that may be like a season 2 essentially later this year, if I'm not mistaken, from the show notes that I was given by HBO Max. But again, these are just my thoughts. I love talking about the show with you all, so let me know your pros, your cons, and what you hope to see in the 8th episode. As always, make sure to like the video, share the video, comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, hit that notification bell, that way you don't miss any of my other early TV show reviews, early movie reviews, live streams, all the fun things we do on this very channel. Hope you all enjoyed this review, hope you're staying safe, and we'll see you on the next video.